There's no one definition to what makes something a country. What decides if a country is a country is essentially whether or not other countries agree that the country is indeed a country. For this reason, counts of the number of countries in the world range from 189 to 196. Each country decides which other countries they recognize. If 100 UN member states suddenly recognize your basement as its own country, then it generally would be accepted that your basement is its own country. There are, however, a number of steps that any prospective country founder needs to take if they want to have any shot at gaining international recognition. The first thing anyone needs to begin creating a country is a piece of land. One way to get it is to steal it. Of course, this involves having enough guns to defend your territory. This would also be problematic for when your country gets to the stage where its legitimacy is reviewed by other nations, but this method has worked before. The easier method is to claim unclaimed land. However, with the advent of satellite imaging and modern cartography, there really are no islands or large pieces of territory that are not known. Despite this, there is a small number of places not governed or claimed by any recognized government. One of the better known recent claims happened in an area unclaimed by both Croatia and Serbia along the Danube River, the border between the two countries. This micronation, known as Liberland, has not received any international recognition and has been denounced by a number of nations, but it still affirms its legitimacy based off the lack of previous claim to its land. Its land is actually 17 times larger than the land of the smallest recognized country, the Vatican. Serbia did agree that Liberland did not infringe upon its territory, but also dismissed the endeavor as frivolous. Other new nations have had more success at international recognition. Most of these are partially recognized nations that split away from a more recognized state with the backing of the people within the territory. An example of this is South Ossetia, which split away from Georgia in 1990, and is currently recognized by Russia, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Nauru. Probably the best known and most hotly contested recently formed nation is the state of Palestine. 136 nations recognized the Palestine, and in 2012 it was designated by the United Nations as a non-member observer state. One other option for unclaimed land is Antarctica. A large section of land known as the Mary Birdland has not been claimed by any recognized nation. One issue with this option is the United Nations' Antarctica Treaty, which states that no new claim or enlargement of an existing claim to territorial sovereignty shall be asserted while the present treaty is in force. There are claims that pre-exist this treaty by 7 different nations, although the legitimacy of these claims is disputed given the treaty. In addition to the Antarctic Treaty issue, establishing a sovereign nation in Antarctica would be difficult because of the next step in the process. A nation is created to serve its people, and without people, there is no nation. There are always people in Antarctica, but these people do not constitute a permanent population because they are primarily there for research or tourism, and none stay in Antarctica for more than a few years. Interestingly, 11 babies have been born in Antarctica, but they generally have taken the citizenship of their parents' countries. A permanent population is one of the most basic qualifiers for statehood. A sustainable independent nation would be near impossible in Antarctica. Any settlement would have no real economy and no way to naturally produce food. However, there are talks of Antarctica having oil, and, if this is the case, a sovereign and potentially prosperous nation could be established in a hostile environment, much like the United Arab Emirates. Similar to the dozens of Antarctic micronation claims, Liberland struggles with a lack of permanent population. The founders' attempts to re-enter the territory have been blocked by both Serbia and Croatia. At this point, it seems unlikely that a permanent population will be established in the near future, and for this reason, the future of Liberland is bleak. A well-formed government is probably the most important aspect dictating the success of your new country. There are tons of forms of government, but considering you're forming this country in the 25th century, you're likely to base the government on John Locke's principles of government. Locke's principles essentially say that, in nature, everybody has the right to life, health, liberty, or possessions. You might notice a similarity between this and another famous document. According to Locke, in a natural society, that is without a government, these rights are not protected because there is no higher power to do so. So in exchange for taking away part of these rights, for example liberty when in prison or property when taxed, the government acts to protect the very same rights. Locke also states that government only works when there is a common belief in the abstract idea or illusion of government, and therefore a government can only really exist when the people are behind it. This is the reason that autocratic or absolutist governments rarely work in modern society. So now, keeping these principles in mind, you need a constitution. Every single recognized country in the world either has a constitution or some substitution to it. This is not a complicated process, so I won't go into too much detail, but essentially any country must have a set of laws, principles, and entities that make up the country, and the Constitution works to define and specify these. This is where all your work comes under scrutiny. Gaining international recognition is by far the most difficult step in the country creating process. It takes potentially hundreds of years for new countries to be fully or near fully recognized. Chances are that, unless you have an overwhelming backing from the people within your country, a good reason for the establishment of your new nation, absolutely undisputed territory, and a well-balanced democratic government, you won't be recognized by any UN member states. The chances of a new, well-recognized nation outside of Africa or the Balkans is unlikely. The governments are too well established or stable outside of these areas. The final step to gain undisputed recognition is to be admitted to the United Nations. Any application is reviewed by the Security Council, composed of China, France, the Russian Federation, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the United States of America, and a rotating group of 10 others. If 10 of the 15 vote in favor of your country, congratulations, you've just joined the United Nations. By most metrics, you're now a country. Of course, other United Nations members still can fail to recognize you, and there are plenty of UN member states that are not fully recognized. However, that's a topic for another time. So good luck with your new country. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. The 8.9-mile gap between the European and African continent, known as the Strait of Gibraltar, is home to multiple strange territories and borders. On the European side, there's a 2.6 square mile British overseas territory named Gibraltar. This means that Britain shares a small land border with Spain.